Stan Gibelisco here, proprietor and operator of amateur radio station W1, GV Whiskey 1, Good Vibrations. From about May of 1999 through October of the year 2000, I had the good fortune of living in the state of Hawai'i, notably the town of Kailua Kona on the Big Island of Hawai'i, at latitude 19 degrees north. That's within the tropic zone as defined by latitudes, where the sun occasionally reaches vertical straight up 23.5 degrees north down to 23.5 degrees south latitude, the tropics. During that time, I did no ham radio operating. I was primarily absorbed with just enjoying the ambiance of the area, trying to live as the natives do, not make a big fuss out of myself, not make a big fuss out of material objects or look like a tourist or any of those things. Didn't want to look too much like a haole. That's kind of a derogatory term for a mainlander who comes down there to take advantage. I didn't have that much money to take advantage. I only had a bicycle for transportation. In fact, all of my belongings that I brought down there could be transported on a jet aircraft in the baggage compartment without exceeding the baggage weight limit. All my material possessions. I just gave most everything I had away when I lived in Miami Beach, South Beach, Miami at the time. I used the Y2K scare as ostensibly a reason to move down there. I assumed that they did not rely on the commercial mainland utility grid for power, and I was certainly right. I learned their civil defense director's attitudes, and he was rather annoyed with those who thought that the Y2K crisis was going to result, or that Y2K, the change of the millennium, was going to cause computer glitches that ended civilization. There was one guy down there in particular who thought that, and this civil defense director became quite upset at him. I did go to a few local ham radio club meetings in Kona, but never actually got on the air on any frequency. So I didn't have the experience of operating HF or any other frequency bands at that latitude. Now down in Hawaii, lightning seldom occurs. It's just the way the weather is, the weather patterns. There are places in the tropics that have a great deal of lightning and thunderstorm activity, and places in the tropics that have very little. And Hawaii has very little, even during the so-called summer. I did not experience any propagation conditions down there, didn't see how there would be any difference. But I'm sure there is, and I'm sure that there are those of you who have lived at various different latitudes around the world, or visited and operated, most notably the HF bands, also known as shortwave, and for our purposes, 160 meters through 10 meters. What has been your experience, if you have it, operating at that latitude on the shortwave bands, that is 160 through 10 meters, the HF bands, also high frequencies. Technically from 3 to 30 megahertz is the definition of high frequency, but we'll include the 160 meter band just for fun. I think it would be fascinating to operate 160 meters at that latitude, but I never got a chance to use any ham radio and didn't make a single QSO during that whole period of time. Too busy, as I said, having fun swimming and biking, and I didn't own a car, just enjoying some of the best physical condition that I'd ever had in my life. But that's another story. I'm talking about ham radio. How does propagation down there, or operating from down there, compare with operating at the latitude of, say, the black holes of Dakota Territory, 44 degrees north? Or maybe even the Arctic or Antarctic? Or Canada, or Russia, or Europe, or any of the mainland United States? How does operating in Hawaii compare? Just some thoughts I'd like to hear from you. I'm sure our other viewers are also curious. With that, I will sign off, say 73, and so long, which, in my native fist, regardless of latitude, always translates to da-da-da-da-da-da.